All right. Let's give it a little time. Everybody rest up. Let's get some people in the room. And then we will have our discussions. Oh God. Oh God. No. Oh wow. I did not really I did not realize my green screen is not properly aligned the way it's supposed to be aligned. Also, this whole aspect of looks. How do you keep doing that, by the way? Like legitimately lined up the way it's supposed to be, and you still find a way to be problematic. Why? That's why the camera always gotta come down. There we go. Okay. Gotta move this chat up a little bit. Ah, come on. What the? Come on. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna have to snap this for a quick second. Was not prepared. I was trying to set this whole thing up. Oh god. Okay, can we? What is with this thing? I can't even. Okay. That's fine. The heck is showing? Turn you off. Turn you off. Oh, okay. This is not aligned the way it's supposed to be aligned. The heck did I do to this thing? Hold on. If I go here. Nope, I cannot fix that right now. That's fun. I am, yeah, it looks like I'm just gonna have to deal with this right now. Not exactly sure why it's acting the way it is, but I guess it is what it is when it comes to that. Ooh boy, this is gonna be an interesting one here. So we just letting everything set up early on. Yeah. I know I had something for this. There's not a single outside run over here. Okay, this one kind of goes. Let's see here. No, oh no, the outside was okay. I don't mind running a screen here. That'll just be a waste of time though. Let's see, if Flowers is coming across the middle. That'd be stupid for Aguilar. Dang, it's really 3rd and 8. It's gonna be either Flowers or Bateman. I put that in a no man's land. There was nothing open there. Ugh. Not the biggest fan of whatever that play was. That was no man's land. Oh, they gave me space. I'm gonna take that. All right. A few things we gotta do as we are getting ready for this. Because we're gonna be here for a little minute. I know people are gonna have things to say. So I'm just doing my early setup. What's going on, everybody? I'm doing my early setups here. As usual for the therapy session. It's the week 9 therapy session that I did not do. Well, actually, I purposely chose to wait this long because we already knew the trade deadline was going to be here. So this was the perfect time to do this. Okay, let's see here. As we are getting ready, to make sure what's going on, John. What's going on, Goat? How y'all doing? We got a whole bunch of things to talk about on the agenda here because this is the week 9 therapy session. Obviously, as we get things started, I usually like to spend the first 15 to 20 minutes as people are coming in and out of the chat and getting ready. I usually like to spend some of the first early minutes here to kind of have everything be chillax and stuff, because I know once the conversation gets going, everybody gets emotional. Everybody has things that they want to say and things they want to share. And it can get real hectic once we get into the meat and potato of things to talk about. So we just getting things going early on here. Hope you're doing well. Thanks, man. I hope you're doing well too. Hope everybody's doing well on this Tuesday night. Definitely some people that aren't exactly happy with how things have gone. And trust me, we will get into that. We will absolutely get into that. That is what the therapy session is ultimately for. We will be getting into that for the most part. So everybody stay tuned. Let's see here. I don't want to go with the cover 4. I'm going to go back to the cover 3 flat. I just want to make sure everything's in front of us. Nobody should ultimately get beat. No one should ultimately get beat here. Everybody stick with your man. There's nothing over the top that should be given up. There we go. Once we got that pressure on first down, we knew we had him. So yeah, hope you guys are doing well here. It's been a pretty interesting last couple of days, you know. Life goes on. Actually, been doing some thinking and some planning stuff. Oh my God, cut it back right here. Oh my God, I wasn't going to be able to cut it back. If I could cut it back from that point, I could have done something. Let's do some crossers. We got a lot of things to talk about here. Hope you guys are doing well. Things weren't great at things were not great at Northwestern Field. Wasn't fun watching what happened. Jayden Daniels done for the we assume he's done for the year, but even it's possible that he does come back. But even if he does, there's no point in putting him back out there. It's been really bad. Not exactly happy to see that. There's some good things for me. It's nice to see my Dodgers go back to back and win the World Series. That was pretty cool to see. Now I ain't gonna lie, man. I gotta get back to this football stuff for sure, because I had been so preoccupied with the postseason for the Dodgers. Like, I just been watching the MLB postseason the entirety of October. My mind was just strictly focused on that. Because it was focused on that, I couldn't really focus in much on football. Not to mention the Ravens were absolutely terrible during this time, and things weren't exactly going well. Lamar was out with injuries. Everybody was injured. The team kept losing. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, but you know, during this time I was just more so locked in with the Dodgers, you know, trying to see my team repeat. So it was cool. My team was able to get it done. First repeat champion since the Yankees did it from 98 to 2000. And now the goal and the focus for the Dodgers is to do what the Yankees did and three-peat. So we want to see if we can do that, you know. Back with that Yankees team where they had Jeter and the boys doing what they're doing. So we're trying to see if we can pull it off. And honestly, this whole postseason run for the Dodgers was nothing short of stressful. I'm not even gonna lie. They earned this one, man. They really had to earn this one. There was nothing easy with this. Timed that perfectly. Give me that. I knew he would do that. I'm gonna take a knee right there. Give me that easy pick right there. Easy pick right there. He threw it up. I'm gonna take it. But yeah, I can't even lie to you, man. That whole World Series run literally left me just out of energy. You know, I'm trying to log right back in with the Ravens, even though I don't have any expectations or belief or faith in this team actually going far and winning a Super Bowl with the current state of the team. I still got to lock back in because we got half a season of football left to talk about and discuss. So we're ultimately going to see what happens here with the Ravens, but I got to ultimately discuss that, and we will get into that for the most part. But we are here for the week 9 therapy session. It should be a fun one, should be an interesting one. We are going to get into that relatively soon. So stay tuned, everybody. I just like to give a little bit of a brief period. You know, I always like to do the whole thing of let me give about 15 minutes to kind of just chill out, groove out, not really speak on this for the most part, and then go from there. So yeah, it's been a fun one. It's been a fun one. You know, got to hang out with the homies, got to do some fun stuff. Pretty good for the most part. You know, I'm trying to make it a thing to try to hang out with my friends as much as I can, but I'm not gonna lie, I ain't even been. It's been a brick. It's legit been a brick since we've like done something. You know, we occasionally like to go out and explore new places. Man, when's the last time we've done that? I gotta talk with them. We ain't done that in a while. Cause I know one of my homies always has the hookup on some locations that we can just go and explore. That dude always talk about new paths to walk, and I hate when he brings that up. I am not a fan, bro. I gotta stop going on walks. Well, no, not stop going on walks in general. I gotta stop going on walks with this guy, man. My friend is legitimately one of the worst people to go on walks with because he always talks about, oh yeah, I know where we're going. This is the trail we're gonna go on. I'm like, all right, bro, you know where we're going, right? Yeah, of course. You know, I found this cool trail we can go on. All right, bet. We go on the trail. All right, we've been out here for like 2 hours. How do we get back? Oh, I don't know how to get back. What do you mean you don't know how to get back? You just told me you knew the trail. Yeah, I knew the trail, but I didn't know how to get back. Hey, this guy, man. I'm sorry, bro. Everyone's got a friend like that, man. Everyone has got a friend like that that always talks about, oh, I know this place or I know that place, and then when we get there, it's like, all right, what do we do now? I don't know. I don't know this place. You just told me you knew this place. What's going on, Mr. Two-time World Series champ? Well, I didn't play. I'm a fan that watched my team win back-to-back champions, but it's not like I played. I'd love to get a ring from that though, but I ain't really. It's not like I'm playing. But yeah, it was great to see my team repeat. It was really awesome to see them repeat. Hopefully, we can pull off what the Yankees did in the '90s and three-peat. You know, if there's going to be a lockdown in 2027, we'll be fine with it as long as we're standing there with 3 rings. We could care less what y'all got to say. Can't wait for the Ravens to get clapped by Kansas City or Buffalo come January. It's an annual tradition at this point. Pretty much. I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised if they get packed up. Sad part is against the Bills, they won't get clapped. They'll just choke. Against the Bills, they'll just choke. Against the Chiefs, they're gonna get smoked. That's kind of what we expect there. But we'll get into all of that and more as we get ready to talk about week 9 as a whole. Can't the Dodgers rub some of their magic on the Ravens? No, because the Dodgers are pretty much following the philosophy of a lot of these other dynasties. They have the championship mindset. The Dodgers are more so closer to Kansas City than Baltimore would ever. It's not even the same. Okay, all right. The Ravens are like, who do I want to point to? Honestly, the Ravens and the Dodgers were basically the same until like 3 years ago. Well, not until last year when we won the championship last year. Now, of course, we also won in 2020, but nobody respects the ring we got during that pandemic year. But you know, prior to winning during that pandemic year, the Dodgers hadn't won since 80, 88, 89. It'd been a long time since the Dodgers won a championship, and nobody respected that bubble ring. So winning last year, people gave us credit, say it's a real ring, but I mean, you basically got it with ease because you got Otani. This year was not even easy. Last year was so different because the Dodgers legitimately, the Dodgers last year had the best record in baseball. They had home field advantage throughout the entirety of the postseason, so they were absolutely expected to dominate. This year, they were the number 3 seeded team in the NL. They had to go through the number 2 seeded Phillies in the NLDS, and then they had to go through the number 1 seeded Brewers in the NLCS. So none of this was easy. And then, by the way, they didn't have home field advantage for the World Series because the Blue Jays had a better record than us. They beat us out by 1 game, so they had home field advantage for the World Series. So essentially, the Dodgers were a road team. The Dodgers were a road team this entire time. it was a lot of work to get into, to just get it done because you have to win on the road, which was not easy, but they made it look easy at times. This is so much, dude. I'm just glad they were able to get it done. Game 7. This World Series was one of the greatest World Series of all time. And they were able to get it done. Okay. Miguel Rojas will always be beloved in the city of Los Angeles because of that home run. Obviously that crazy 18 inning game, which I was up till 3 in the morning watching game 3 because it's 18 innings. One of the longest games in MLB history. I had to witness that. That was crazy. And Will Klein will always get love in LA because of that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. EDC, same old guy. Kevin, we're gonna get into that. When I looked at the playoff picture, Chiefs in the hunt in Week 9. That's crazy. Not to mention Kansas City Chiefs lose to 3 AFC teams. Yeah, I mean the Chiefs are gonna be. It's a high chance the Chiefs end up being a wild card team, but there's still plenty of football left. If the Chargers and Broncos blink, they're losing out on that division. Though right now, the Chargers, they're gonna have the. Oh my God! Look, what are we doing? The Chargers are gonna have the advantage because they have the advantage over the Chiefs in terms of division record, and then the Broncos have a better record as well. So Chiefs have a lot of work to do, but there's a high chance they're going to be a wild card team this year. High chance, but it doesn't mean it's guaranteed. There's still plenty of football left. For all we know, the Broncos and the Chargers could blow it, and the Chiefs take advantage. If that happens, it's game over. Chiefs win that division once again. But that's a different conversation for a different time. But yeah, it's been it's great to see my team win the World Series. It's great to hang out. It was great to hang out with some of my friends. It's great to hang out with some of my friends, even though I've got to stop going on walks with them. Well, not one of them. One of them's fine. It's the friend that always talks about. I know what trail we should go visit today. All right, cool. Let's go on the trail. Okay, we've been here for 2 hours, dude. Where's the exit back so we can leave? Oh, I don't know where the exit is. I knew where the path was, but I don't know how to get back. So we got to spend another hour plus trying to get back because homeboy decided let's follow this trail, but I don't actually have a plan in terms of getting back because that's fun. But it is what it is when it comes to that. Other than that, nothing in terms of my personal stuff. Come on! Oh my God, I almost got it. There's no Kingdom chapter this week, and I know a One Piece chapter is coming out. It's gonna probably be the end of the arc. Not the end of the arc, the end of the flashback. It's gonna be the end of Rock's flashback for the this chapter because I think there's a break next week for One Piece, which is fun. Kingdom's on break this week. One Piece is not. Next week, One Piece will be on break. Kingdom will be back. So that's cool. I really need to get back into anime. I want to start talking about anime again. I gotta get back into that. I have a list too about the series that I need to talk about because I feel like I should make videos on One Piece and Kingdom and talk about a bunch of series that people don't really speak on. Oh my God, that wheel route worked perfectly. What is this defense doing? Actually, that wasn't even a wheel route. That was executed beautifully. Like they actively cannot do anything here. That's crazy. That is crazy. Shout out to Donovan with the $2 donation. I need therapy, doc. I don't need therapy, doc. I'm fine. Yeah, I feel you on that one. We are getting ready to start. Shout out to you, Donovan, with the $2 donation. Appreciate it, brother. But we are getting ready to start. We just talking it up here a little bit. Okay, legitimately, I already have like oh my God, I don't know what my first notebook is. But like legitimately, I have my notebook here for all my ideas. You don't need to see what I've been writing. I've been writing like my notes about things because I gotta make some anime related content. Legitimately ranking openings for some of these series. I'm trying to make long term videos about why you should watch certain series. I gotta get on my anime on because the sports stuff been draining me. I gotta do some other stuff. And in one way or another, I gotta start making gaming content. I'm really trying to go into that other aspect. I've been saying I want to do this for a long time, and I just haven't done it. So at some point, I just have to start it, and then go from there.
You know. Also, maybe cool to like get into movies again and TV shows. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I don't really watch movies and TV shows anymore. My life essentially is just working, hanging out with friends, chilling out, enjoying some of the things I enjoy to do, and then this YouTube stuff that I do here with you guys on keeping it real. It's been cool, it's been fun, but I gotta expand it to other things. So I gotta look into doing that. Which honestly, I've always wanted to really dive into the aspect of creating content for anime or doing gaming content, even though I suck at gaming. I don't know. I feel like I should go into different venues and avenues and see what comes of it because it'd be pretty fun to do. With the way things are going, uh, it just feels like it's gonna be another year of torture. Knowing how the ending is for the Ravens, I'd prefer to have something other. I'd prefer to have something else. Something else to just take my mind off of the nonsense that's gonna be happening for the next 2 months. All of November and then December as we head into January. If the Ravens turn things around, that's cool and all, but we all know it just means they're gonna get beat by Kansas City come January. And I don't know if everyone's willing to do that. Give me that's an easy pick. What? No, what? Oh my God, Madden. I literally. Oh my God, this game. I hate this game with a passion. Anyway, I think we have done enough. Think I've done enough just chilling out, vibing here. I think it's about time I start giving my thoughts about few topics. So I think it's about time we get started for the therapy session. I'm actually gonna see if I can get a touchdown or something out of this drive. Because once we get into the therapy session, it's gonna be a whole thing, and I'm gonna have to lock in. So for this therapy session, we have to talk about everything. So first thing we're gonna do is talk about the Thursday night football game against the Miami Dolphins. We'll briefly speak on that, and then we'll speak on what happened on Sunday in regards to the Ravens' chances in the division, and then we'll ultimately speak on what happened come trade deadline because that's a topic I know everybody wants to talk about. That has been a hot topic today. My goodness, EDC has outdone himself once again. And I ain't gonna lie, man. But the way things are going for the Ravens, it's really unfortunate when you look at a lot of fan base and everyone's just like, yeah, we know we're not gonna win anything this year. It kind of takes the fun out of this because it's like, okay, we know Lamar's great and we're gonna enjoy Lamar here, but it's not gonna mean anything come January because at the end of the day, we know this team's gonna fold to Kansas City or Buffalo. It's getting tired. Also, what's getting tired is kind of the same old narratives and stories that's been happening. I can't even lie to you. I didn't care. When it came to Chiefs Bills, I didn't care who won. I didn't even watch the game. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I've been making shorts about the games I've watched. I didn't make a single short about Kansas City or Buffalo. I don't care for the story. I don't care for the narrative. It's always gonna be the same thing until something changes that makes things interesting. If the Chiefs win, it just adds to another reason as to why the Bills can't beat the Chiefs. If the Bills win, it's going to be their annual regular season win against the Bills, which means they're ultimately due for a playoff disappointing loss against Kansas City come January. So if they win, it don't matter. If they lose, it also. Oh, did not realize something was open here. What am I looking at here? Really? What is? Okay, I could have sworn. Hold on. Okay, let me see. That's weird. Okay, it's not you. It's not you. Oh, you little. Ugh. Ah, crap. Yeah. I got it. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't watch Bills Chiefs this week. I just didn't care for the story. I didn't find it interesting, and I didn't care for the storyline again until it means and until it pays off in January. I don't care about the Bills and Chiefs matchup because there's gonna be another situation where we know the result, and until something changes, I don't see a reason to care. And the same thing with the Ravens and Chiefs. The Ravens and Chiefs quote unquote rivalry is similar to the Celtics and Sixers. They always beat us, so who cares? Who the hell cares? Chiefs fans don't give a damn about the Ravens. Ravens haven't done anything to earn their attention. The Ravens constantly fold to the Chiefs. What is there to talk about? They own us. So it gets tiring to really speak on this. Every time, oh, well, it's another matchup between Lamar and Mahomes. Yeah, and we know Lamar is going to end up not playing well because we know how the offense is going to fold against Spags' defense. Meanwhile, the Ravens' defense is going to lay down and take it just like they always do against Mahomes. It's the same story, and people are getting tired of watching the same story. Nothing changes. Everyone thinks it's going to be different this time, and then we watch it, and it's the same story a million times. No matter how much talent you add, no matter who's on this team, it's the same story when it comes to dealing with the Chiefs. And a lot of Ravens fans are kind of tired of it. There's a big reason as to why I sat back and said we were going to lose that game, and not a single soul was surprised by it. I'm kind of just getting bored with some of the same old storylines we've been seeing for years now. If it was paying off, by all means, sure. But when we know the Bills are going to ultimately fold because for some reason that defense is going to forget the way the defense played against Mahomes, I promise you they won't play like that against him in January. We know how the storyline is going to go. So unless something changes, why should I care? And then for the Ravens, no matter what the Ravens do, every time Harbaugh matches up against Andy Reid, he gets spanked. Every time the Ravens step foot on the field with against the Chiefs, they get outclassed. It's not even remotely close, and it gets tiring. Mahomes just outclasses us every time. And Mahomes ends up putting up his best numbers against us every single time. And it's annoying and it's tiring of watching. I've grown bored of it. Until it pays off, there's no reason to mention the Ravens and the Chiefs in the same name. They're not on the same level. So, with all of that being said, let's get ready to ultimately discuss this here. Let me see if I can. I was trying to buy some time here because we got to get ready to talk about the actual therapy session. Like I said, we're going to start off by talking about Thursday Night Football last week when we faced off against the Miami Dolphins. We'll speak on that, and then we'll ultimately go into what happened Sunday in terms of how that affected us in the division, and then we'll ultimately, oh, perfect, fantastic. And then we'll ultimately go into the trade deadline, and then I'll open up the floor to you guys to kind of get your thoughts as to how you feel about things. So I'm going to speak how I feel about a few things here, and then we'll ultimately go from there. Man, this D-line is soft. Can't stop nothing right now. Look at this crap. And then everyone's just getting smacked around. That's pathetic. But yeah, I'm getting ready to put this down soon. I kind of wanted to finish this first half before we ultimately talked. I've spent 27 minutes doing a prologue here for this week's therapy session, which makes sense because there's a lot to talk about here in terms of the overall aspect. And I know a lot of people are emotional right now, which is why I always want to bring good, chill vibes before we actually get started on talking about what needs to be. This defense sucks. What was even that? Oh my god. That was complete garbage. You know what? I don't even care to speak on this or to continue this game. 2:50 left. I'm about to run the hell out of the ball and kill this clock so we can go to halftime and actually talk about what we need to talk about here. But yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully you're not letting the Ravens kill your vibes, because I don't let them kill my vibes anymore. I'm so checked out, it really don't matter. The Ravens are going to be the Ravens, and I've accepted that, They're not going to win anything this year, and I've accepted that. I've come to terms with that. Oh, come on, man. Seriously? But yeah, I've come to terms with the Ravens, what the 2025 Ravens are. Even if they get back into this, they're going to be playing a really soft schedule. So it don't even matter if they ultimately get to the playoffs. I mean, who the hell cares? Do you think this team is going to magically get it together in ways that the other teams haven't? They've had better teams than they have this year, and they still couldn't get it done. Or at least they had better playing teams than they had this year, and they couldn't get it done. So do we even look at this squad and say, oh, yeah, this squad's definitely built to get it done? Based off of what? Vibes? They can come back and make the playoffs because they got a soft schedule. But, past that, it's still going to be seeing the Chiefs again, and you guys will probably find a way to choke that game. And then when you step foot on the field with Kansas City, you'll piss yourself the way you always do. It's best for the Ravens to miss the playoffs because you really think we can win out. Even if we make the playoffs, you're getting swept by the Chiefs. I ain't gonna say. First of all, it's a 1 game series. It's not like we're playing these guys 4 times. Even if we did play them 4 times, we get swept. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna lose the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's just a realistic aspect here. The Ravens have given you nothing that would make you think they'd beat these guys in the postseason. Blind faith is not going to get you to the promised land. I'm telling you right now, blind faith is not going to get you to the promised land. You can feel however you feel about things, but at the end of the day, when your team can't deliver against the same team and you keep getting beat, that's just how it is. Think about it. The Steelers constantly got whooped by the Patriots. They never beat the Patriots. They could never get past New England. And that was their kryptonite. They won 2 Super Bowl rings in years where the Patriots didn't get it done. When they won in 08, Brady was out for the year. So keep that in mind. When they won the Super Bowl in 08, Brady was out for the year. When they won in 05, I don't remember who beat the Patriots that year. I don't, because they didn't face off against the Patriots in 05. I can't remember who beat the Patriots in 05. But yeah, the 2 rings that they got, those were years where they did not have to face off against the Patriots. And then in 2012, and then in 2010, excuse me, the Jets beat the Patriots, so they didn't have to deal with that in the AFC title game. At the end of the day, when it comes to the Steelers and Patriots always, oh, give me that, come on, bro, pick it up. All right, we're done with this game. Madden, we're done. No. There's no way. There's multiple guys there. Nobody could get the ball. I'm not even joking right now. There's no way. And then he gets back into range. I'm so disgusted right now. There's no way, dog. There's no way. This game is terrible. I'm literally 2 players there to pick it up. Okay, Broncos, that's what it was. 2 players are there to pick. All right, bro. I'm done with this game, bro. We can wrap this up. There's no way. No. Let's get into this therapy. I'm done. There's no way. He fumbles the ball. I'm right there. I'm like, pick it up, and they don't pick it up. This is why I hate Madden. This is why I hate 2K. It's this dumb crap over and over again. He's right there. Pick the ball up. Are you serious right now? That's a fumble for 6 and he doesn't pick it up? All right, bro. I'm done. Perfect time to get into this is why turn this off. We're done. I'm going to play something else later on. Let me go look for Scott Pilgrim or something like that. I don't know. Maybe Dragon Ball or something. I'm not playing that crap again. It's the same story with Madden. The ball's on the ground. There's 2 Ravens players there. Nobody can grab it. Okay. All right, we're doing that. With that being said, I think it's a perfect time to officially start the therapy session. I am going to say my piece, and then I'm going to leave it open for the rest of you guys to ultimately, go at it however you want to go at it. So give me a quick minute here because I have to ultimately pull up some of the numbers from the Thursday night football game because I do want to talk about that. Oh, for God, come on, dude. Seriously? What is this? Alright, leave that like that. Alright. Nope, that's not what I was trying to do. And you ended up bolting it up. I'm not going to sit back and say that's a problem. All right, let's. Oh man, I was trying to pull up these stats and I couldn't find them. Hold on. Oh yeah, divisional round. So it's the Broncos in 2005. Because I was trying to figure out who they lost to. But yeah, the Steelers never faced off against these guys and won in the postseason. When they did face off against the Patriots in the postseason, they lost. They weren't good enough to get it done. Okay, here we go. All right. So let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my gaming camera has to be adjusted, and then my camera for when I'm making these videos and live streams have to be adjusted because those are two different lanes, as you can see with this versus this. It's two different lanes, so I actually have to adjust this. All right, let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome one and all to the Week 9 therapy session. We've got a lot to talk about here, but there has to be something that is addressed, and that ultimately will be the moves that the Ravens have made over the last few days, few weeks, however you want to look at it. So, we're going to start off with talking about the Week 9 game that was played last Thursday, Thursday Night Football. We're not going to spend too much time here. There's absolutely no reason to spend time here or significant time here because this should be quick, simple, and to the point. So, how did Week 9 go for the Ravens? Well, in terms of their game, pretty well. Lamar Jackson comes back from an injury after being gone for the last month plus. And how does Lamar look? Well, Lamar Jackson looks like Lamar Jackson in his first game back, and he does what he always does against the Miami Dolphins. He cooks them. 18 to 23, 204, 4 TDs, no picks, QBR of 92, and a passer rating of 143.2. Derrick Henry had 119 yards rushing. The Ravens' offense, for the most part, looked good against the Dolphins, and they got it done to, again, continue to keep their season alive because that's the main focus for the Ravens, looking to get things going. Meanwhile, for the defense, they forced 3 turnovers. The Ravens forced 3 turnovers here. They forced 2 fumbles and then got an interception off of Tua. So it was funny. Taj Washington fumbled and it was recovered. Malik Washington fumbled and it was recovered. Tua threw a pick right to Malachi Starks, who got his first ever career interception. And Baltimore ultimately cruises to a dominant 28-6 victory here. And yeah, the Ravens move to 3-5. And ultimately keep their season alive. So that's good for the Ravens to keep their season alive for the most part. They needed to keep things going. It's good to once again be able to stay in the win column. They've won 2 in a row. They will be taking on the Minnesota Vikings this upcoming Sunday at Minnesota. So it's going to be a very interesting game come Sunday in regards to the Ravens and Vikings. Can the Ravens pull off the victory there and win 3 straight to get back to, to get to 4-5 and be 1 game away from being back to 500? A lot of work has to be done here for the most part. But the Ravens winning on Thursday night, first winning that game against the Bears, shout out to Tyler Huntley, and then winning on Thursday night gives them 2 wins, and then they had this mini bye week to give extra rest to these guys, even though they're already coming off of a bye week. In case there was any nicks or any sort of minor injuries that they were having, this 10-day rest should give them plenty of time to recover. And when they step foot on the field come Sunday, everybody will fully be at 100% and they'll be ready to take on the rest of the season as they try to come back and dig themselves out of a 1-5 hole. So the Ravens, for the most part, handled their business on Thursday night. Switching gears, how did things go on Sunday in terms of helping the Ravens' chances in the division? Well, for one, the easy one was out the way. The Cleveland Browns do what the Cleveland Browns always do, and that is lose. During their bye week, I'm kidding, they didn't play, so I'm not going to troll the Browns this week. Browns didn't play, they were in the bye week, but they were 2-6 for the most part. So, they're kind of on the outside looking in, and everyone's looking at Cleveland and pretty much comes to an understanding that Cleveland's not doing anything in the division this year. At this point, it's more so looking at these rookie quarterbacks. Stefanski continues to stay with Dillon Gabriel. I guess that's just what he's going to stick with till the cows come home, or the owner forces him to put in Shedeur Sanders. But, for now, they're just going to stick with Dillon Gabriel. And at some point, Shedeur Sanders will be playing, probably towards the end of the year when it really doesn't matter. But, at some point, Shedeur will see the field. At least that's how I believe things are going to go. So, yeah, the Browns, for the most part, they were on a bye week, so it's not like they could have done anything here. But you did have 2 other divisional foes that did play this week. you had the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you had the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's start with the crazy one here. The Cincinnati Bengals found a way to choke a game in the most Bengal way possible. The Cincinnati Bengals are such an embarrassment. We're fighting with the Bengals right now because, they're trying to get their season back on track, or at least they're trying to keep their season alive because they need to be in manageable position for Joe Burrow to come back and at least do something. If they're hovering around 500, Joe Burrow can give them a shot to make the playoffs. But right now, they're not doing a good job because their defense stinks. The Chicago Bears beat the Cincinnati Bengals 47-42. Caleb Williams, one of his best games of his career, 20 of 34, 280 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interception. He also had a receiving touchdown. The Chicago kind of ran the Philly play. Only I guess it's what is it called? Chicago, whatever they want to call it. They basically ran that play where you're basically handing the ball to your receiver, and the receiver throws it right back to the quarterback, who's usually wide open for a touchdown. So Caleb Williams, he threw for 3 touchdowns, and he caught a touchdown. So that's cool to see Caleb Williams catching a touchdown. Funny enough, he caught 2 passes in this game. That's actually weird that that's the case. They ran this multiple times and actually were able to have Caleb Williams having 2 completions in this game is the funniest thing in the world to me. That Bengals defense is really a joke. Cincinnati's defense is a joke. So Caleb Williams did his thing. DJ Moore was the one that threw that pass, so he's got a touchdown pass. That's cool for him. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco, I don't know what else you could do if you're Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, 31 of 47, 470 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a QBR of 76, and a passer rating 109.4. The first interception was just a great play by the defensive player. The second interception was on the Hail Mary last play of the game. So I'm not really looking at those turnovers and saying that's really on Flacco. And those turnovers ultimately was not the reason they lost. Flacco gave them the lead. They were up 42-41. All the defense had to do was hold. They couldn't make not one stop. The Bengals defense is so damn terrible. They should be ashamed of themselves. You're getting T. Higgins 100 plus yards reception, 100 plus yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase going over 100 yards as well. I mean, Flacco was dealing to these guys. The offense was on fire. They could score against any team in the league, and yet, despite that, they lost. So Cincinnati losing drops them to 3-6, which means Baltimore gets to move into second place in the AFC North, and they're inching closer to trying to catch up to the Pittsburgh Steelers for first place in the AFC North. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steelers find a way to respond when they need to, and they respond in the biggest way possible. The Steelers pull off an upset. They beat the Indianapolis Colts 27-20 in a game where everything went wrong. Daniel Jones completely unraveled in this game. The Steelers defense moved worlds to win this game. 27-20. That defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, by the way, was struggling to actually get turnovers over the last few weeks, and they haven't done a good job defensively in stopping anything. The Steelers did it all. I hate to see it, but the Steelers did it all. First of all, the Steelers' run defense sucks. They held Jonathan Taylor to 45 yards rushing. Second of all, the Steelers' defense can't stop the pass. They didn't do much of stopping the pass here, but honestly, Daniel Jones had a bunch of empty calories because at the end of the day, the Steelers' defense forced 6 turnovers. That defense forced 6 turnovers. 5 of the 6 turnovers was specifically on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 31 of 50. 342 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, a passer rating of 63 or 63.9, and a QBR of 13. Daniel Jones not only had 3 interceptions, he also had 3 fumbles in the game and lost 2 of them. Daniel Jones had 5 turnovers. The Pittsburgh Steelers forced 6 turnovers overall in that game and got it done. Aaron Rodgers doing just the bare minimum, which is exactly what they needed him to do today. 25 of 35, 203, 1 touchdown, no interception, passer rating of 95, QBR of 60. You had Jaylen Warren, who had 2 rushing touchdowns today. Not today, on Sunday. 2 rushing touchdowns. Warren did what he needed to do at the goal line. A-Rod did what he needed to do, and that defense harassed Daniel Jones for 60 minutes. 5 turnovers on Daniel Jones, 6 turnovers forced by the Steelers defense. That gives them a 27-20 victory over the Colts, a huge upset. Pittsburgh moves to 5-3 on the season. So Baltimore, who was, a lot of us Ravens fans were hoping that the Colts would be able to knock the Patriots down to 4-4, so we could be right behind them for first place in the AFC North. Instead of getting that, Pittsburgh's 5-3, we're 3-5, and once again, it's a long work. It's a lot of work. It's a long journey. It's a lot of work. It's going to be a long process. It is going to be a long process here. It is going to be a long process that ultimately is going to take a whole season. Baltimore and Pittsburgh don't meet up for at least another month, so we're ultimately going to see how things change up and shape up in the AFC North. So Cincinnati losing benefits the Ravens. Pittsburgh winning does not benefit the Ravens. Baltimore winning on Thursday night helps them try to continue to get back on track, and that ultimately leads us to where we are right now as we head into this week, for the most part, getting ready for the Vikings on Sunday. We are going to be traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. In fact, the next 3 games, we played the Dolphins on the road. This week, we're going to play the Vikings on the road. And next week, we're also going to play on the road. I do not remember who we're playing after the Vikings, but it will be a road game. So let me see here. The Ravens will be playing the Browns. Okay, so we've got the Vikings this week. It'll be at Minnesota. And then after that, we'll play a 4:25 game against the Cleveland Browns. It'll be at Cleveland. So we got to get ready for that Browns defense because we beat them in week 2, but that Browns defense definitely brought problems. So, we have to worry about that. So, the next 2 games will be road games. And then we have the Jets, the Bengals, and the Steelers all at home. So, Aaliyah, at least for a month, for the next month, we will not be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers twice during the final 5 games. We'll play the Steelers. Our first matchup against them will be at home December 7th. So we got at least a month before we got to take on Pittsburgh. So we'll see how things go in terms of, that matchup. We'll see how things go in terms of that matchup, as well as where the Ravens and the Steelers will be sitting in the AFC North in the month. Will Pittsburgh remain to be in first place? Will Baltimore be able to snatch that from them? Will they be dead even by the end of the month? We'll see. But come December, Baltimore and Pittsburgh will meet up for the first time this season. And it'll be towards the end of the year, which means it'll be coming down to the wire to determine who's going to win the AFC North. That pretty much ends the whole topic of discussion in regards to the Ravens, Steelers, the AFC North, everything that's happened so far in week 9. That pretty much wraps up the overall topic of discussion for the week 9. Well, it's not wrapping up this session, but it does wrap up the overall assessment of week 9. So I'll say like that. For the week 9 assessment, everything's wrapped up in a nice little bow. However, we are not done here because there's a very specific reason as to why I chose to wait until today. I felt this specifically because the trade deadline was on. I said this after the live stream. EDC has 5 days to make some moves to put this Ravens team in position to try to go on a run. He had 5 days. 5 days. 5 days. What did EDC do in these 5 days? Well, his biggest move was to make a trade. I didn't speak on this because I already know I was going to talk about this during the therapy session. But EDC made a trade. He traded a conditional 5th round pick to the Tennessee Titans to get Draymond Jones. Now, this is going to be somebody that you're going to add to your front 7. He's a pretty solid edge rusher. He has 4.5 sacks over the last 4 games. He was pretty productive and getting in a nice groove. a nice rhythm for the Titans. So this is a guy you're gonna add to your front seven to try to add to that pass rushing unit. He had already made the move for Lawson, which again, Lawson could potentially play on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know if Jones will be able to play, but it's possible if he gets to Baltimore in time. So, he gets to Baltimore tomorrow or Thursday, he'll be with the team, and if they feel he's good to go, he may end up playing. So it's chance Jones ends up playing, and there's a chance Lawson plays. But essentially, the moves that you've made so far, in terms of the overall assessment of the trade deadline moves, they traded Dafe Owen to the Chargers. They got Gilman to add to their secondary. That's one. Number two was going and getting Lawson. And then number three was trading for Draymond Jones. So those are the three moves EDC made during this trade deadline. That move for Jones happened yesterday. It happened yesterday. Everyone looked at it and said that's a solid move, including myself. It's a solid move. It's going to help add to that front seven. It's going to give you another pass rusher. Let's see how EDC is going to build on this. Your interior defensive line is still a major problem. That front seven is still soft. You want to beef it up. Everybody was saying, go get Williams from the Jets. Go get Williams for the Jets. Go get Williams for the Jets. You had till 4 p.m. today to go get something. What it was going to be Williams, what it was going to be Lawrence, what it was going to be Phillips, whoever it was going to be, EDC had to make a move to improve this defensive line because their D-line is soft and it's not built to help them compete in the slightest. That D-line isn't doing a damn thing to Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. You have to go get a record. You've got to go get a made man. Especially with the concerns revolving Matabike, because we don't know what's going to happen. But again, neck injuries can be career-ending. Our defensive coordinator right now knows all about that. Neck injuries can end a career. So we don't know what's going to happen with Matabike. He may be done career-wise, but we're not going to make those assessments because we don't know what's going to happen. But Matabike, for the most part, is done for this year. You got to go get his replacement. You've got to go beef up this line. What does EDC do? You see what I'm doing? You see I'm just sitting here on my phone doing a whole bunch of nothing? That's what EDC did today. Whole bunch of nothing. Ravens fans can't wait to get the reports about how the Ravens were interested in this guy, or they were pursuing this guy, or they were having conversations about this player, but the deal ultimately didn't go through. So, with the Ravens having one of, if not the weakest D line in football, EDC proceeds to respond by doing absolutely nothing. And the most funny part about this is me, as well as a bunch of other Ravens fans, already saw this coming. I don't know what it's going to take for these optimistic Ravens fans to just stop putting themselves through this self torture. But they do this to themselves every year. They bring up all these big names that the Ravens got to go trade for, or the Ravens got to go sign. And then the Ravens don't do that. And then they get mad and they want to swear at EDC and they want to get depressed. Why do you keep putting yourself through this? How many times are you going to see this happen before you wake up and realize the reality of the situation? This is it's the same story. It's the same storyline. It's the same cycle every single year. EDC loves his cheap picks. EDC loves his draft picks. He's cheap. He's very, very cheap when it comes to giving up draft capital. That man is not sacrificing nothing. He's not. If EDC can get a decently quality product at a cheap price, he's going to do it. You saw how he got Jones? All he gave up was a conditional 5th round pick. I can give up those. We got 5 5th-round picks. We got all these damn draft picks that we know 65 to 75% of those draft picks aren't going to account to anything for this team. But we got all these draft picks pretending they're going to mean something. You're a team that's supposed to be competing for a championship. Many people picked your team to win the Super Bowl coming into this year. And yet, things haven't gone your way. You've got one of, if not the weakest D-line in football, and your GM responds by not addressing it majorly. The best we've got is Carl Larson and Draymond Jones. And that's ultimately going to help us get to the promised land. I'm not surprised in the slightest. I'm not shocked in the slightest. I get tired and annoyed when the fans keep hyping themselves up with all these players, knowing EDC doesn't operate like that. EDC's not spending a first-round pick to go get a player. He's not. He's never going to do that. And all these people talk about, well, EDC, he made the trade for Roquan Smith and then paid him. How can you call him cheap? I love when people bring up the Roquan Smith one while completely forgetting that the money that he gave to Roquan Smith ultimately would have gone to Patrick Queen had they not got their solution. The reason they went and traded for Roquan Smith is because they didn't believe Patrick Queen was going to be the guy. They were ultimately getting ready to move off of him. His contract was going to be up, and they had no interest in paying him all that money. But if they couldn't find a replacement, Patrick Queen was going to get paid by the Ravens. What did he do? He used a second-round pick, not a first-rounder, a second-round pick to trade for Patrick Queen's replacement, being Roquan Smith. He gave Roquan Smith that deal knowing that the money he's going to give to Roquan would have gone to Patrick Queen had they not been able to make that trade. That's why when Patrick Queen's contract ended at the end of the 2023 season, they didn't even give him a number. They didn't negotiate with them. The money that he could have got went to Roquan. Why do we need to talk to you? We already got your replacement. That's why they didn't talk to him. So you could talk about EDC making that big splash play to go get Roquan Smith. He spent big money there. No, the money that he would have to pay Patrick Queen, he just gave that to Roquan. And they used a second-round pick to do so. It's not a huge splash. It's not. That's not a huge splash. That wasn't one of those, oh my God, that's a crazy move to go make that type of deal, that type of trade. It's a masterpiece. No, it fits right into what they always do. If you can get something at a bargain, you can. You got a middle linebacker at a bargain, and then you paid him the money you would have already paid this other guy, and then you let that guy walk without even throwing him a deal because you weren't going to spend a dime on him. So how big is that Roquan Smith trade? How big do you look at that? That is not a trade that I look at and say, oh, it's a huge time play. It's a good trade. It's a good trade, but it's not breaking the bank. And the money that he spent, that he gave Roquan Smith, was the money he would have been forced to give Patrick Queen if he couldn't get a replacement. All he did was take money that was in one spot and gave it to the other. And the person that would have ended up with that money, he let him walk in free agency without even offering him a dime because he wasn't going to. So how big is that Roquan Smith trade? Because everyone always talks about when EDCs make these big moves. He went and got Roquan Smith. Yeah, he used a second-round pick to get Roquan Smith and then gave him the money he would have had to give Patrick Queen. He just gave that to Roquan Smith because they found his replacement. That's when they moved off of Patrick Queen. Then you can go use some of these draft picks to pick up some cheap guys to try to go get something going. That's why you went and drafted Trent Simpson. And now you got Teddy Buchanan. Go get those guys in the middle rounds. Those third-round picks, those fourth-round picks. And just hope they work out. That's what they do. That's what they do. So I'm really interested in seeing how many of these big moves EDC's made in terms of free agency and the trade deadline. They'll always talk about how active the Ravens have been and the amount of players they talk about, but they don't want to talk about the quality. They'll talk about the quantity of players that the Ravens have traded for and drafted. They won't talk about the quality. How many quality players have we drafted? How many quality players have we brought in via free agency? I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to sit there and act like EDC's done nothing. He's done things, and he's brought in quality players, and they've drafted quality players. But to act like he's made all these huge, major moves, these game-changing moves, the way Howie Roseman's made, no, he's not. That's why Howie's a better GM, and everybody knows it. Howie's also willing to take those big risks that EDC's never willing to take. At the end of the day, you got to be willing to spend money to make money. If you want to win a championship, if you're all about winning a championship this year, you got to be all in, which means you have to take your swings and you have to make those big trades and you have to make those big moves. ADC's never making those big swings and big moves. And the fan base is perfectly fine with it. I'm not using a first round pick on this guy. Why would I? If you believe this guy's a game changer, why not spend the draft capital for it? What's the point of having all these fifth round picks? So that we can lose half of them because they're not going to make the team? Or we can just keep them here to be practice squad guys? You're keeping all these picks, and we know 65 to 75% of the people you draft aren't even going to play for this team. So what's the point of having all these draft picks? To make matters worse, the Ravens freed up $14 million in cap space. Why did you free up all that cap space if you weren't even going to use it to improve the team? It's the same story with the Ravens. That's why at the end of the day, you look at how the team is now, we already know this team ain't winning anything. EDC is always going to do the same thing. He's never going to take those huge strides. And the funny thing about it is, everyone can sit back and say, well, you can't take those risks and sacrifice your future to win now, because what if you don't win now? Then you gave it your best shot. It doesn't always work out, but we've seen moments where it worked out. The funny thing about it is, the Los Angeles Rams sacrificed their immediate future. They sacrificed their immediate future, gave up all those first-round picks for the next several years to make sure they built a championship team and brought in Matthew Stafford to help them win the championship. What ended up happening? The Rams won a Super Bowl. They spent the next couple of years being in limbo and not really having solutions to kind of fix the team. But if you watch them last 2 years, for the most part, they've been a playoff team. They still can compete. And they just added Davante Adams too. And it's worked out well alongside Puka, who's back. The Rams sacrificed their immediate future to get a championship. And they were still, even during the dark times, they were still able to bounce back and put together a playoff caliber team that could compete. The Rams, the Rams of all teams, the Rams that sacrificed all that, still were able to put in the team that can compete. Years later, after giving up those draft picks, they dealt with the damage of doing that. They won their championship, dealt with the damage of that, and then still found a way to retool this team and still keep it competitive and still be a playoff team. They were so close last year to beating the Eagles. Who knows what happens if they beat Philadelphia? Who knows what happens? But they nearly beat the Eagles. They nearly beat the Eagles. People don't speak about that much. They nearly beat the Eagles, man. Sometimes you have to be able to take those big swings. It's not always going to work. But if you're telling me you're all in, you are all in on winning a championship, you have to make those big moves. Oh, we're going to end up sacrificing next year's draft pick. Do you want to win the Super Bowl this year or not? Why are you worried about next year? With the way the Ravens always are, they sit at the end of the first round. How valuable is that first round draft pick if you're drafting at number 29 or 30? How valuable is that? How valuable is that? And with all these damn draft picks, you can't use any of this draft capital to go try to make a trade. You got 1 million fifth round picks and you can't find a way to get something here? It's ridiculous, man. It's truly sad. They want to do the bare minimum and they want to hope that it gets it done. It just goes to show where they stand right now. The Baltimore Ravens have become a complacent football team. Everything they do is complacent. We're not going to take those huge strides or take risks. We're going to be complacent. Why take the risks? Let's just be safe. I want all my draft picks. Why take a risk in bringing in a player that might be the game changer that can help us get to the promised land? Why take that risk? If it doesn't work, well, now we don't have our precious picks to do anything. It's all about complacency with these guys. As long as they can put together a competitive team, they're fine. Win the Super Bowl, don't win the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter. As long as they can put together a competitive product that can compete for a playoff spot, they're fine. From the coach to the owner to the GM, all of them, they're complacent. They're not serious about winning a championship. You can't tell me this deadline proves their serious about winning a title. Take a look at that front seven. You're not beating Kansas City with that front seven. You don't have the pieces to do so. They don't have a dominant force. They don't have what it takes to beat Kansas City in the playoffs. They don't. It's a waste of time. You can't tell me this team's serious about competing for a title. You are 3-5. You are supposed to be on the rise. You have an opportunity to bring in a real game changer to completely help turn this season around. And you sit on your thumbs and you refuse to take those shots and you stay complacent to protect your precious draft picks. And you've got a team out there that has no chance to do anything come January. And the sad part about all of this is, with this being the case with a complacent GM, a complacent owner, and a complacent head coach that repeats himself and says the same old garbage after every loss, with complacency around an organization, the sad part about it is you have a generational quarterback that will be a Hall of Famer that desperately wants to win a championship. And when this team ultimately fails to get it done in the postseason for the 15 millionth time, assuming they get to the postseason, guess who's going to take the blame? It won't be EDC. This guy right here will not be taking the blame when the Ravens flame off in the playoffs. The owner will not be held responsible when this team flames off in the playoffs. John Harbaugh's name will not be brought up and mentioned by the outside fans, or the media. The outside fans and the media will not put any blame on Eric DeCosta or Steve Bisciotti or especially John Harbaugh. When this team ultimately flames out in the playoffs, it's going to be Lamar's head on the chopping block because he's going to be the one that's getting the blame. I'm not saying chopping block in terms of he's on the verge of being traded. I mean, he's going to be thrown in the fire because every time the Ravens lose, they always point the finger at Lamar, no matter what the circumstance is. And the blame always goes to Lamar. And that's why I don't feel envious about that man's circumstance. I don't. I really do feel bad for Lamar. Because at the end of the day, this is what he's surrounded with. And he has an offensive line that stinks because the guard play is trash. He's got a defense who has one of, if not the weakest D-line in football. You've got a mess of a defense. There's talent there, but they really don't know how to play up to their potential. And you've got very, very questionable coaching on all levels. And you have to ultimately take this team to the promised land. And if you don't, you're held to the fire. You're held to the fire, and you will get all the blame. So when this team flames out, it will be another chapter in the Lamar Jackson story where they'll say he just can't get it done. They won't talk about his D-line being soft and getting bullied all day. They won't talk about his offensive line being bad and his guards getting cooked. They won't talk about any of that. They'll just say Lamar Jackson can't get it done. The outside fans will continue to troll Lamar Jackson. The media will just put it on him and say he can't get over the hump. And all is well. They will not hold John Harbaugh responsible. They will not hold Eric DeCosta responsible for not giving them a D-line that can actually challenge Kansas City and Buffalo in the playoffs. All of this is going to fall on Lamar Jackson. And when this team ultimately falls short, which they will, Lamar's going to be the one to get all the heat. I'd hate to be in this position because that right there would infuriate me. That's tough. It's tough. Tough to be in that position. If you're Lamar, it's got to be very, very tough to be in a position like that. You know, that's just something you got to deal with. That is something you've got to deal with. And ultimately, there's nothing. There's nothing you can do from that point. There's honestly nothing you can do. He has to take that. That's tough. I ain't gonna lie. It's unfortunate. And the sad part is you'll get the delusional fans that will constantly defend everything the Ravens do and then delude themselves into believing this team's going to win a championship. Then when this team doesn't win a championship, they'll just blame it to bad luck or say we just didn't execute today or the usual crap they throw out. And they'll just move on to next year. As another year wastes away in Lamar Jackson's career, I wonder how he feels about this, you know? Like he can't be happy with how things are going in terms of this aspect. Keep in mind that he has not signed an extension and he is due 74 million next season. They have to get an extension done. And with the way things are going, if this ends poorly again, I don't see why Lamar Jackson would want to sign an extension. If that man is trying to win a Super Bowl and this is what's happening here, how can you feel comfortable signing that extension? And I've said this before. If Lamar is A-OK with all of this, he's part of the problem. I will say this straight. If he's A-OK with all this crap happening, he's part of the problem. He's part of the problem. So he can't complain when things don't go the way he wants it to. Because if he's sitting there in silence and not being vocal and not speaking out about this nonsense and not speaking out about changes that need to be made, then he's part of the problem. If he is speaking out about it and nothing's being changed, then he should look at this as a sign to not sign the extension. That's just the reality of the situation. Give me a second, guys. I will be right back. I have to go check my log.
we got the TV on the freezer and everything. What's going on over here? That's wild. Ah. As I was saying, as I had to check on my laundry, the Ravens continue to be what they are, man. They continue to be complacent. The Ravens continue to be complacent. That's all I can say. They continue to be complacent. And if that's what they want to do, so be it. When this team ultimately doesn't win a championship, they'll live with the results. It's going to affect Lamar's legacy, which is why I always look towards Lamar and say, what do you have to say about this? And what are you doing to try and counter this? You have a voice in this. If you are using your voice and speaking your mind and expressing your frustrations with this, the fact that the offensive line doesn't protect you because the guard play is unacceptable and needs to be fixed, the fact that the defense is not where it needs to be, if you are holding people accountable and speaking on this, and you're not getting the response you should be getting, and the product is not improving and the help is not doing their job, if all of this is not going the way it needs to go, even after you've spoken up, then Lamar, you have every right to not sign that extension. I'd recommend not signing it. If you're speaking on these issues and talking about things that need to be fixed and speaking with your owner saying this has got to be addressed, and you're speaking with your GM saying we got to address this, and then nothing's being fixed, then yeah, Lamar, don't sign the extension. But if he's seeing all of this happen and he's not speaking out and he's not voicing his frustration to the owner or the GM and he's not talking about this, then he's part of the problem. That means he's also content with everything that's happening here. So when they don't win the Super Bowl, and that further affects his legacy because he's the one that's talked about wanting to win the Super Bowl every year. When they don't win it, he's going to have to spend another year and another offseason having that on his conscience and having that on his mind because it affects him. It affects him. We know it affects him. He's the one that's got to take the blame when they fail in the postseason. They always put it on him. They don't talk about Harbaugh. They don't talk about the other players. They don't talk about the coordinators. They talk about you, bro. When this team loses in the postseason, they just talk about you and you only. You got to take the brink of the blame, and then you got to deal with the whole offseason of you thinking about this. I had to deal with that last year. All I'm saying is that this franchise, this organization has gotten complacent. They're not willing to take any more risk. And if that's the case, so be it. They could have taken a risk by moving John Harbaugh to the front office and having Mike Macdonald be their head coach. They could have done that after the 2023 season. They chose not to do so. They chose to be complacent and stick with Harbaugh. And here we are with the same problems over and over again. We'll watch this team battle back and find a way in the playoffs, and we'll watch them fold again to Kansas City or probably Buffalo the way they always do. There's nothing else to really be said. Like I said, this team's going to fold. Everybody sees what's happening. This roster's not good enough to win. This roster's not good enough to win a championship. I'm sorry. Take a look at that front seven. What is that going to do to Mahomes or Allen? Nothing. That is what you're going to go to battle with. That D-line, that front seven is what you're going to go to battle with. And you expect people to actually believe you're going to be pushing for a Super Bowl run. Stop deluding yourself, bro. Nobody's buying this. Doesn't matter if you got Lamar. It's not going to be enough to get you to the promised land. And when this team ultimately fails to get it done, they'll make whatever type of excuses they need to make. They'll talk about how it sucks and how they didn't get it done. Lamar will talk about how he's sick of this and he's ticked off for the 15th millionth time. And they'll head into the offseason with absolutely nothing changing. The cycle continues. And if that's what the Ravens want to do, they want to continue this endless cycle, so be it. Can't stop them from continuing the cycle. If this is what they're fine with, if they're content with just competing to make a playoff spot and getting beat every time in the postseason because of the same old story and same old issues with the team and the same old issues with the players, if they're fine with that, so be it. Can't change anything. You know, if this is what they're fine with and they're okay being complacent about this, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't have any actual belief or expectations for these guys. I think most of the fan base is already ready for this season to be over because they can already tell this team's not good enough to win.
If they miraculously get to the Super Bowl, which they won't, they're not good enough to beat Philly. Look at this roster. Can you imagine this O-line against the Philly? We saw last year when this O-line went up against Philly's front seven. We got tortured for 3 hours. This team's not good enough to beat Philadelphia. This team's not good enough to beat Kansas City in January, and it's not good enough to beat Buffalo in January. Doesn't matter if you have Lamar Jackson. That's one player. It takes a team to win these games. They're not good enough to win. Everybody can see it but them. They're so blind to their own issues that they just think they're going to magically go on this run because they have 2 championships where people doubted them and they got it done. They just think they can keep living off of the past and it's going to magically lead them to a championship. When in actuality, it's just going to be another year of this team falling short and failures hitting and everybody pointing the finger at Lamar Jackson and talk about what he has to do to get over the hump and another year of this affecting his legacy. It's the same story every single year. Kind of bored of it. I'm still a fan of this team. Still love this team. Still going to support this team. But I already know the ending of the story. I told you at the beginning of the year, every year you'll get an indication of where this team stands. And every year the Ravens show you exactly who they are. And at the end of the day, it always ends in disappointment. That's just how it's been in the Lamar Jackson era. A lot of great moments, a lot of moments of brilliance, but ultimately never getting over the hump, never getting to the promised land, never truly reaching your potential, never getting it done. A lot of great moments, but there's a clear element of failure. A clear element of consistent failure for the Baltimore Ravens. And people are tired about it. People are really tired of seeing it. It's gone to the point where everybody already expects this team to fold come January. What's the point? Can't beat Mahomes, can't beat the Chiefs. You choke every time to Josh Allen and the Bills. The last 2 losses, actually the last 3 losses, this loss week 1, the loss in the playoff game, and then the loss in 2020. All 3 of those games were games where you just choked. You turned the ball over and handed them the game. Nothing but choking. Nothing but choking from these guys. Even when Lamar plays great against them, the team will still find a way to choke. It's kind of tiring at this point. Nobody cares about what the players have to say because their words are meaningless. Nobody wants to hear from the head coach because he says the same garbage he's been saying for, 17 years now? It's the same story. It's the same narrative. It's the same mindset. It's the same philosophy. It's the same result. And people are tired of it. I don't know what else to tell you. People will call for EDC's job. People will call for Harbaugh's job. They're not going to get fired. Nothing's going to change. The Baltimore Ravens are satisfied with their 2 championships. They have become complacent with the success that they have. Or had, because again, they're living off of a legacy. These current players are living off of a legacy that they didn't help build. They're living off of a reputation they didn't help build. Every time they talk about the defense, they want to talk about how we're so accustomed and used to a Ravens defense being like this and that. Yeah, well, those Hall of Famers are already gone. They've already retired. Some of them are already in the Hall of Fame. Others are getting ready to go into the Hall of Fame. Can't keep talking about the past. This current unit ain't it. It's not. Got the same coach you've had for 18 years now. Ain't nothing changing, bro. Ain't nothing changing. Ain't nothing changing, man. Ain't nothing changing. It's the same story every year. And we ultimately got to deal with it. It's kind of tiring, you know? Like, as a Ravens fan, how can you even talk nowadays? What else are you going to say? You can keep that level of optimism, but when you already know the end of the storyline, what's the point? You come into the season to be hyped just to know the result at the end. We still can't beat Kansas City. We always choked the Bills, even though we're supposed to be better than them. What's the point? What's the point? They're going to fold in the playoffs like they always do. What's the point? I'm serious. What's the point? They might do something different this year. You might see a situation, now that they've shown how much they can choke, you might actually see a situation where Lamar plays well in the playoffs and they still find a way to lose the game just because the defense just sucks. It's the same storyline, man. I'm so tired of it. And there's nothing they're going to do in the regular season that's going to change anybody's mind or make them think they're different. Look at who they're going up against. Their 3 toughest opponents are Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and New England. Pittsburgh is iffy. Green Bay is certainly iffy. And New England might be for real, but people still got questions about them. The Ravens' chances to prove themselves as being a legitimate contender, they missed out on that. And their three biggest opponents all have question marks. Though of the three, the Patriots have been the best and the most consistent. They still got some question marks about all three of those teams. So what can the Ravens prove in the regular season? Nothing. Nothing they do will prove anything. And then they'll get to the playoffs and then they'll fold like they always do. And then they'll lose in January like they always do. And then Lamar will take the blame like he always does. And people will pretend that he's the only one that made mistakes in the game like they always do. And we'll just run it back next year like we always do. It's the same story. It's the same cycle. And I think people are just tired of that, man. If we already know the result, why should we care? You haven't given us anything new or different. If they would have made bold moves at the deadline, we can at least sit back and say, they're taking this serious. They're taking this serious. Look who they added. They're taking this serious. But no, business as usual. The same thing they've done every year is the same thing they do this year. Doesn't matter if the team's 3-5. Doesn't matter if the team has been bad and have humiliated themselves. Doesn't matter. Business as usual. I'm not going to make those bold moves. I'm not. And we'll run it back with our same guys that we like. And when these same guys don't deliver in the key moments and you ultimately lose, you'll talk about how proud you are of these guys for fighting. It wasn't how we wanted it to go. The season didn't end the way we wanted it to end. But I'm proud of these guys for fighting and competing this year. The same garbage being regurgitated as the fans continue to get frustrated because they have Lamar Jackson and we can't seem to do anything with him. And then Lamar Jackson will have another offseason where everybody points the finger at him and ignores everything else happening around him. It's kind of tiring, guys, you know? It's kind of tiring. When it's the same storyline every single time, what's the point? I'm dead serious. What's the point? If it's going to be the same story every single time, what is the point? Nothing changes, nothing improves, nothing grows. We're stuck with the same storyline every single time. And we're supposed to magically believe this team's going to go on a Mickey Mouse super run. Why should we believe they're going to go on a run? What can I point to that would make me think they're going to go on a run and win a Super Bowl? This team can't beat Kansas City. This team can't stop choking. Why should I believe they're going to do anything? It gets frustrating. It really does get frustrating when you're watching this happen and it's just like things need to change or improve and you hope this supposedly top class organization would find a way to do what they're supposed to do. Instead, they don't, and you have to sit here and see this happen in real time, and you're like, are they ever going to make the changes they need to make? No, they're not. Well, they're just not going to get to the Super Bowl then, and they're not going to win the championship. Still won't change anything? Okay. It's the same story, and I'm not going to lie, man. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of watching the same story happen every single time. It's not doing anything. We're watching the same story over and over and over and over again. I don't want to continue to watch the same storyline, man. I don't. I really don't. When it's the same storyline, when it's the same outcome, you get tired, man. You get tired. And I can't lie to you. I am certainly tired. That's pretty much all I have to say. I don't have anything else to really say. The Ravens continue to showcase who they are. This is the franchise we just got to deal with. It's a franchise that's become complacent. They don't really care anymore. You can't convince me they're serious about winning a championship. The moves that they've made, the fact that they do the same thing over and over again. Nothing's changing. Where is the difference in approach? Where is the aspect of getting aggressive? They don't do any of that, man. They don't do any of that. They're fine living in this world where things continue to run the same way and they don't make changes. Falele and Voorhees stink. Sure, let's just keep him in. Let's not be aggressive to fix the problems. Let's just stick with what we have. Let's be complacent and do the same things over and over again and just assume things are going to magically fix themselves. And when things ultimately don't fix themselves, well, we could just run it back next year, right? It's tiring, guys. It's very tiring. Nobody wants to have to continue to see this, man. People want change in Baltimore, and they're not gonna get change. I've already talked about it too. If you serious about wanting change, y'all know what y'all got to do. But y'all not gonna do that, and they know you're not gonna do that. Y'all keep talking about wanting change. Showcase you want change, but again, we know that's not gonna happen, man. So it's just like it's kind of a waste of time. That was a terrible throw. Jeez. Let's run that back. But yeah, I mean, it's the same story with the Ravens every single time. I don't have much else to say, guys. I mean, it's kind of a dark turn here, but the reality of the situation is the reality of the situation, man. We all know how this storyline ends for the Ravens, and I cannot lie to you, man. It's it's so unfortunate. It's so disappointing. It's so annoying to know how everything's going to end for the Ravens. And then you ask for them to actually make those changes, and they just don't. You hope they've changed their philosophy and get aggressive. Get with the times. Get aggressive. Make some moves. Make some legitimate moves. The Ravens decide to do the same thing they've been doing their entire existence. And it's just like, that's just what they want to do. They want to use these older methods, and they think that's just what's going to get them to the promised land. Then when they ultimately don't get to the Super Bowl, they'll just pretend that everything's a-okay and we just didn't execute this time, and we'll just execute next time. And then next time comes and then they don't execute. And it's like, well, we'll execute next time. And then the time afterward comes and they don't execute. And then we'll be like, we'll execute after that. And then the time comes and they don't execute. And then the cycle continues and the cycle continues and the cycle continues. It's truly unfortunate, man. Like I said, this is my team. It's sad to see this franchise turn into this, honestly. But I've already come to terms with it. I've accepted that this is the case. I don't fight it anymore. You know, at the end of the day, I just move on. I accept and I move on. I was able to be complacent last year, especially because the Dodgers won, and the Dodgers went back to back. I can be complacent again. I'm not gonna be concerned over what this team wants to do. When they ultimately fold in January, we'll just have to move on to next year. And this is why Nick Wright can be as arrogant, as cocky as he can be, because he already knows how this script is gonna go. It's the same storyline every year. It's the same storyline every single year. And since it's the same storyline every single year, is there a real need to really care? Like Nick Wright can say whatever he wants on television because at the end of the day, he knows the Chiefs are going to be able to back up everything he says. Come January, the Chiefs are going to do what they always do, and they're going to get back to Super Bowl. Just like the Ravens are going to do what they always do, which is fold in January, and the Bills are going to do what they always do, fold to the Chiefs. It's going to be the same storyline, and we're supposed to pretend things are different. Very tiring, guys. It's very tiring. It's very tiring. I want changes, but changes aren't going to come. And that's ultimately what makes things so disappointing. What type of that's what you come up with? That was terrible. And he was open with separation, bro. It was ridiculous, man. I'm sorry, guys. It's unfortunate that this is the case, but there's nothing we can do about it. As fans, all we can do is just root for our team, support our team, and hope things magically change. But like, where's the change gonna come from? Like legitimately, where's the change gonna come from? There's no change coming. None. It's gonna be the same story. And people are tired of it. It's just complacency. Look at the state of the team. Do you really think this team's going to get it done come January? Being realistic, do you think this team's going to get it done come January? There's nothing here that screams Super Bowl team with these guys. Nothing. Not a soul will be surprised when this team folds in January. They're expecting it. Nick Wright can run his mouth and talk however he wants to talk about the Ravens because he knows how they are. That's why I haven't been fighting it over the last 2 years. I haven't said anything about what Nick Wright has said. What's the point? They prove him right every single time. Baltimore has yet to prove him wrong. So why would he stop talking about the Ravens the way he does? They haven't proved him wrong, and they're not going to prove him wrong this year. And people are tired of the same story. Nobody wants to watch this team make the playoffs just so they can choke, and that further affects Lamar Jackson's legacy because he's going to be the one that's affected from this. No one's going to care about what the Ravens do. It's all just going to be about Lamar Jackson. He's the one that's going to take the brunt force of this. Nobody else is going to take the brunt force. It's going to be Lamar. And it's going to be Lamar in a worst possible way, and it's going to be so painful to watch. Nobody wants to watch this team play and just go out there and choke once again. That is so tiring. That is so annoying. Nobody wants to see that. But that ultimately could end up being the case. Like we've already said, the Ravens' schedule is incredibly soft. And with Lamar Jackson, you're good enough to beat some of these soft teams. Now, who knows? Maybe what we saw with J.J. McCarthy, they beat the Lions. So, again, it's a divisional game. That's the thing that pisses me off. It's a divisional game, so you can't even get an accurate read on what you saw. Did what you see with J.J. McCarthy, with what you saw from J.J. McCarthy last week, do we believe that's going to be a consistent thing? I have no clue. It was a divisional game, and divisional games are always iffy. You could be a bad football team and still beat a divisional rival just because that's how things work. And that's the annoying part about these things. You never get an accurate read. J.J. McCarthy looked great last week against the Lions, but who knows how he's going to look against the Ravens. And then they'll get a swell head if defense does well against J.J. McCarthy, they'll get a swell head thinking, oh man, we really are back. Look at how our defense is performing. They'll be beating up on bad teams or subpar teams or okay teams, and they'll think that's just who they are, forgetting that they have to deal with Mahomes in January, knowing they can't beat him. My God, it gets tiring, guys. And I hate to be the pessimistic fan, even though I've done a great job in becoming that over the last few years. I have really become a lot more of a pessimistic fan, just because the Ravens have done a great job in making me that. When I've seen the same storyline over and over again, it gets hard to get excited about the Ravens because I already know how this storyline is ultimately going to go, and I'm not interested in seeing it for the 12th millionth time. When we already know how things are going to go, why fight it? Really unfortunate. Anyway, guys, we're going to pack it up here. This is going to ultimately end the Week 9 therapy session. The Week 9 therapy session is going to end on a bit of a depressing note. As we sit back and once again speak on the reality of the Ravens, we know nothing is ultimately going to change, and things are ultimately going to stay the same, and we are going to have to deal with the same nonsense over and over again. As we continue to pretend things are A-okay, as things are not A-okay, and we got to act like they are A-okay, even though we know it's not A-okay. But hey, I'm sure everything's going to be all right. I'm sure in their minds, they believe they're going to get it done. And when they ultimately don't get it done, we'll be here for it. Oh my God, again. It don't matter. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this week's therapy session. I don't really have much to say. I'll look at a few comments and then call it here. Because there's not much more to say after this. It's pretty depressing. It is pretty depressing. Is there any more sorry teams that the Steelers can lose to? They should have got destroyed by the Colts. I mean, they've got a tough schedule ahead, so who knows what's going to happen. It's best for the Ravens to miss the playoffs because you really think we can win out. Even if we make the playoffs, you're getting swept by the Chiefs. Again, it doesn't matter. what we think. The Ravens are going to do what they can to try to make the playoffs. They're complacent. As long as they make the postseason, they're complacent with it. It doesn't matter what we think. They're going to fight to make the playoffs. It's time for EDC and John Harbaugh to go. They're not going anywhere. The franchise is complacent. We need more help. Not getting that help. Saw it coming from Howie. We all saw it. EDC is nowhere near the level of Howie right now. And that's what it is. The moment the Colts lost to Pittsburgh, they trade for a cornerback who has been getting cooked. That's their problem. Not a Ravens fan, but y'all should have traded for Jeffrey Simmons. Go tell them that. It's probably like all this cap room now, but we ain't going to sign anybody. And then EDC needs to sit down with Lamar if we work his contract and use some of the extra cap to lighten the load for the next week. Again, I'm not even sure what they would even do with all that cap space, even if they could. Again, Lamar's seeing this. I don't know how this is going to affect the contract negotiations because he's seeing this. EDC always takes safe decisions instead of taking risk decisions. Yeah, and we've seen how that's worked out for us so far. Can't enjoy the Ravens and the Heat anymore. They both have one thing in common: a complacent GM. Nothing you can do about that. I'd rather for them to not make the playoffs than go to the playoffs and choke again. Well, it is what it is. That's just what we're going to get. Either they miss the playoffs and don't change anything, or they make the playoffs, choke, and don't change anything. We're stuck in complacency hell, and there's nothing we can do about it. With that being said, guys, this has been the Week 9 therapy session. I'm going to end things here. Don't want to continue to get depressing, not to mention it's 12, and I have to go rest up because I got work in the morning. So I'm going to leave you guys to your devices. Good night to all. We'll continue to talk about the Ravens as we get ready for this Vikings game, and we'll just see what happens with that. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys pulling up for the therapy session, and I am going to head out of here. Good night, everybody. Peace out. Stay safe.